Welcome to GoReadling Bedtime Stories, presented by GoReadling.com. Personalized education and reading skills for kids. Find a comfortable spot, close your eyes, take a slow, deep breath, and let our story carry you gently off to sleep. Tonight's story is called The Frog Prince. Once upon a time, in a land filled with sunshine and sweet-smelling flowers, lived a princess whose heart was as bright as her golden hair. Her name was Lily, and she loved to laugh, especially when she was playing. Her most treasured possession was a little golden ball that shimmered and sparkled in the sunlight, catching every beam and scattering tiny rainbows across the grass. She would spend long, happy afternoons in the royal gardens, tossing her ball high into the clear blue sky, watching it arc like a tiny sun, and then catching it again with a giggle. The air around her would hum with the sleepy buzz of bees and the gentle rustle of leaves in the breeze, creating a perfect melody for her joyful games. Princess Lily felt utterly free and full of wonder, her heart light as a feather as she chased her glistening plaything, feeling the soft grass tickle her ankles and the warm sun kiss her cheeks, a truly blissful scene in her quiet world. Just beyond the castle walls, where the manicured gardens met the whispers of the wild, lay a small, ancient forest. It wasn't a dark or scary forest, but rather a magical place, dappled with sunlight filtering through the tall, old trees, where moss grew thick and velvety on the stones. In the heart of this gentle wood, nestled beneath the wide branches of an oak tree, was an old stone well. Its waters were said to be clearer and colder than any other, reflecting the sky like a perfect mirror. Princess Lily loved the spot. The air always felt cool and fresh there, carrying the scent of damp earth and growing things. It was her secret place, a tranquil haven where she could escape the grown-up world and simply be a child, feeling the smooth, cool stones of the well beneath her fingertips, a quiet comfort in the heart of her playground, where only the gentle chirping of unseen birds broke the peaceful silence of the enchanted trees. One particularly warm afternoon, with the sun painting the sky in shades of honey and rose, Princess Lily decided to take her beloved golden ball to her special well. The air was soft and still, and the leaves on the ancient trees barely stirred, creating a hushed, peaceful atmosphere. She sat on the cool, moss-covered edge of the well, her legs swinging playfully, and began her game. She tossed the golden ball up, 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 watching it climb higher than the tallest branches, a bright, shining star against the deepening blue. Then, with a joyful leap of her heart, she would catch it again, feeling the smooth, cool metal of the ball in her small hands. Each throw was a little dance, a moment of pure, unburdened happiness, the sound of the ball whooshing through the air a happy sigh in the quiet afternoon. She felt a delightful sense of freedom, her laughter echoing softly among the trees, a melody of innocent joy. But then, as sometimes happens when one is lost in a moment of pure delight, something unexpected occurred. Princess Lily threw her golden ball just a little too high, a fraction too far. Her eyes, wide with playful mischief, followed its glistening arc, hoping to intercept it as it descended. However, instead of falling back into her waiting hands, the golden ball slipped, bounced once on the mossy edge of the well with a soft thump, and then, with a heart-stopping plink, it tumbled straight down into the dark, echoing depths below. A sudden, cold splash echoed upwards, sounding enormous in the stillness. Princess Lily gasped, her breath catching in her throat. Her eyes welled up with tears, and a tremble started in her chin. Her beloved golden ball, her precious plaything, was gone, swallowed by the mysterious dark water, leaving a hollow ache in her chest that felt as deep as the well itself, chilling her happy afternoon into a moment of sudden despair. Tears, large and sparkling like dewdrops, began to roll down Princess Lily's rosy cheeks. She knelt by the well's edge, peering into the inky blackness, but all she could see was her own reflection, distorted by her sadness. The joy had drained from her afternoon, replaced by a heavy, suffocating sorrow. She sniffled softly, her little shoulders shaking, wishing with all her might that she could somehow reach her precious toy. The forest around her seemed to hold its breath, sensing her distress, and the usual cheerful chirps of birds had fallen silent. Then, just as she was about to give up hope entirely, a strange croaky voice bubbled up from the water, startling her so much that she nearly tumbled into the well herself. "What troubles you, dear princess?" the voice asked, sounding surprisingly gentle and close, making the hairs on her arms stand up in a mix of fright and wonder, breaking the silent spell of her deep sadness. Princess Lily, quite astonished, blinked her wet eyes and looked around, but saw no one. She peered back into the well, and there, treading water with his head tilted to one side, was a rather large, friendly-looking frog. He had bright, intelligent eyes that seemed to twinkle, and a wide, green smile that looked surprisingly kind. His skin was a beautiful mottled green and brown, perfectly camouflaged against the mossy stones, and his throat pulsed gently as he spoke. She had never, in all her life, seen a talking frog, let alone one that seemed so perfectly polite and concerned. A tiny gasp escaped her lips, and her tears momentarily forgot to fall, as curiosity replaced her sadness. You can talk?" she whispered, hardly daring to believe her own ears, feeling a peculiar mix of fear and fascination at this unexpected encounter with a creature from a fairy tale. The frog gave a little nod, his large eyes never leaving her face. "Indeed I can," he croaked, his voice still gentle but with a curious lilt. "And it seems you have lost something precious in my watery home." He gestured with a webbed foot towards the dark depths. Princess Lily, still a little bewildered, nodded slowly. "My golden ball," she said, her voice still trembling slightly. "It's my favorite toy, and now it's gone." The frog considered her for a moment. Then, with a slight dip, he offered, "I can retrieve your golden ball for you, princess. The water is no problem for me at all." A flicker of hope ignited in Lily's heart, but then the frog added, "But only if you promise me something in return." Her breath hitched as she waited for his condition. Princess Lily's heart fluttered with a sudden mix of hope and apprehension. She wanted her golden ball more than anything, but what could a frog possibly want? "What do you ask?" she questioned, her voice barely a whisper, her eyes wide as saucers. The frog settled deeper into the water, his head just peeking above the surface. "I want you to be my companion," he said simply, his voice soft. "I want to eat from your golden plate and drink from your golden cup and sleep on your silken pillow in your own bed every night." Princess Lily's brow furrowed. The thought of a cold, slimy frog sharing her food and her bed filled her with a strange mix of disgust and disbelief. But the golden ball was so shiny and precious. Surely, she thought, this silly frog wouldn't actually follow her all the way to the castle. It was a promise she could make lightly and then forget. "Yes, yes," she exclaimed, her desperation for the ball overcoming her reservations. I promise all of it, if you just bring me back my golden ball." She spoke quickly, her words tumbling out, barely giving a second thought to the weight of her promise, already imagining her ball back in her hands. No sooner had Princess Lily spoken the words than the frog dipped his head beneath the water with a smooth, silent motion. The well's surface rippled for a moment, then settled back into a glassy stillness. Princess Lily watched with bated breath, her heart thumping a little drum against her ribs. The silence stretched, long and expectant, broken only by the gentle rustle of leaves high above. She waited, feeling a nervous excitement building within her. Then, after what felt like an age, the frog resurfaced, a triumphant glint in his big round eyes. And there, held carefully in his mouth, sparkling like a captured sun, was her golden ball. It glistened with drops of cool well water, looking more precious than ever. A huge sigh of relief escaped Princess Lily's lips, and a wide smile instantly replaced her worried frown. She reached out her hand eagerly, feeling the smooth, cool weight of her beloved toy again, the joy of its return washing over her completely. The moment her fingers closed around her beautiful golden ball, Princess Lily's earlier promises to the frog seemed to vanish like smoke in the wind. The cold, clammy feeling of him on her pillow, the thought of him sharing her food. It all felt ridiculous now that she had her treasure back. "Thank you," she called out, her voice bright and cheerful, already turning to run. She clutched the golden ball tightly to her chest, feeling the familiar comfort of its weight. Without another thought or even a backward glance at the waiting frog, she scrambled up from the well's edge and began to dash through the forest path, her soft slippers barely making a sound on the mossy ground. She ran as fast as her little legs could carry her, the golden ball a beacon of joy in her hands, leaving the frog and her hastily made promise far behind in the quiet depths of the enchanted wood. A fleeting moment she hoped would soon be forgotten in the rush of her newfound happiness. But the frog, it seemed, was not so easily forgotten. As Princess Lily raced towards the familiar safety of the castle, a persistent plip-plop sound began to follow her. She glanced over her shoulder, and there, hopping steadily behind her, was the little green frog, his big eyes fixed on her. A wave of irritation washed over her. She tried to run faster, her heart pounding not with joy now, but with annoyance. The plip-plop grew louder, closer. She imagined him just behind her, his webbed feet making tiny, determined sounds on the forest path. Her breath came in quick, short gasps as she pushed through the last of the trees, desperate to reach the castle gates. The sweet scents of the forest seemed to mock her, and the gentle breeze felt like a whisper of accusation. She wanted nothing more than to be rid of this persistent little creature, to pretend their encounter had never happened, to forget the promise she had made so carelessly by the old well. Princess Lily finally burst through the castle gates, her cheeks flushed from running, her chest heaving. She hurried across the courtyard, past the sleepy guards, and darted inside, hoping to slip into her room unnoticed. But just as she reached the grand oak doors of the dining hall, where her father, the king, was already seated for supper, she heard a soft, insistent knock. "Princess Lily, dear," her father's kind voice boomed from inside. "Who is at the door?" Princess Lily froze, her golden ball still clutched in her hand. She pressed herself against the wall, hoping the frog would simply go away. "No one, father," she mumbled, trying to sound casual, but her heart was thumping like a drum. Then, from just outside the door, came a clear, croaky voice that sent a shiver down her spine. "Open the door, dear princess, and let your faithful companion in." The king frowned, a puzzled expression on his face, and Princess Lily knew, with a sinking feeling, that her secret was out, and her earlier careless promise was about to catch up with her in a most embarrassing way. The king, a man of great honor and kindness, looked at Princess Lily with a gentle but firm gaze. "Lily, my dear," he said, his voice quiet but full of authority, "what is this about a companion, and why is a frog at our door?" Princess Lily reluctantly explained the whole story, her voice barely a whisper, her cheeks burning with shame. She told him about the golden ball, the well, and the frog's offer, admitting how she had promised anything to get her toy back, never truly believing the frog would follow. The king listened patiently, his wise eyes watching her closely. When she finished, he took her hand. "My daughter," he said, his voice filled with gentle disappointment, "a promise made, no matter how small or to whom, is a promise that must be kept. You gave your word. A true princess always honors her commitments, for her word is her bond." He then instructed a servant to open the door, a clear message that there would be no escaping her responsibilities this time, leaving Lily with a heavy heart and a profound sense of dread, knowing she had to face the consequences of her thoughtless actions. With a sigh that felt too big for her small chest, Princess Lily watched as the palace guard, with a bewildered expression, opened the grand door. And there, standing patiently on the threshold, was the little green frog, his head tilted expectantly. With a determined plip-plop, plip-plop, he hopped his way across the polished marble floor, directly towards the royal dining table. Princess Lily shrank in her seat, trying to make herself as small as possible, her face burning crimson. The other nobles and servants at the table exchanged curious glances, whispering behind their hands, but the king merely nodded, a silent command for them to respect his daughter's guest. The frog, seemingly unfazed by the opulent surroundings, hopped right up to Princess Lily's chair, looking up at her with his bright, knowing eyes. The silence in the dining hall was thick, heavy with unspoken questions and Lily's overwhelming embarrassment as the frog settled at her feet, a living, croaking reminder of her hasty vow. The king cleared his throat gently, reminding Princess Lily of her duty. With a deep breath, she reluctantly lifted the frog and placed him on the edge of her golden plate. The other diners gasped softly, but the king merely watched, his expression unreadable. The frog, unperturbed, settled comfortably beside her roast chicken and sweet peas. "Now, princess," he croaked softly, "may I have a bite?" Princess Lily's stomach churned. The thought of sharing her delicious meal with a cold, slimy frog was almost unbearable. But her father's gaze was firm. With trembling fingers, she pushed a small piece of chicken towards him. The frog, with surprisingly delicate manners, took a tiny bite, chewing slowly, his throat pulsing. She watched, horrified, as he nibbled a pea, then another, his presence making her own food seem unappetizing. The rich aromas of the meal, usually so comforting, now seemed to mingle with the strange, damp scent of the frog, making her feel utterly miserable, her appetite completely gone. After he had eaten a few polite bites from her plate, the frog looked up at Princess Lily with his bright, expectant eyes. "Now, dear princess," he croaked, his voice still gentle, "I am rather thirsty. May I drink from your golden cup?" Princess Lily's heart sank even further. Her golden cup, intricately engraved and polished to a brilliant shine, was her very own, always filled with the freshest, coolest spring water. The thought of the frog's wet lips touching the rim where hers had just been sent a shiver of revulsion through her. But again, her father's unwavering gaze met hers, reminding her of the promise. With a sigh, she slowly, carefully lifted her golden cup and lowered it to the frog. He took a long, quiet sip, his throat working. Lily imagined she could almost feel the coldness of his skin on the warm metal. When he finished, he gave a tiny burp and looked quite pleased, while Princess Lily felt only a deepening sense of disgust and humiliation, wishing more than anything that this strange, unwanted guest would simply disappear. The long, awkward supper finally ended. Princess Lily sighed with relief, hoping that her ordeal was over. She pushed her chair back, ready to escape to the privacy of her chambers. But just as she stood, the frog spoke again, his voice clear and unwavering. "Now, dear princess," he croaked, looking up at her with those large, knowing eyes, "it is time for us to rest. Remember your promise, to sleep on your silken pillow in your own bed." Princess Lily felt a wave of despair wash over her, her bed, her sanctuary, her soft, warm haven. The thought of a cold, damp frog on her silken pillow next to her was almost more than she could bear. She looked desperately at her father, hoping for a reprieve, a dismissal, anything. But the king merely nodded, his expression regretful but firm. "A promise is a promise, Lily," he reminded her softly, leaving her no room for argument, only the crushing weight of her responsibility and the grim reality of her next unwelcome task, her heart sinking with each heavy beat. With a heavy heart and dragging feet, Princess Lily walked towards her beautiful soft bed. The silken sheets, usually so inviting, now seemed to mock her, awaiting their strange, slimy guest. The frog, with his steady plip-plop, plip-plop, followed her every step of the way, making her feel even more resentful. When she reached her bed, he stopped at the foot of it, looking up expectantly. "Lift me up, Princess," he croaked gently. Princess Lily hesitated, a knot of revulsion tightening in her stomach. With a shudder, she bent down and, with the tips of her fingers, picked up the cold, clammy frog. His skin felt strangely soft yet undeniably damp against her skin. She forced herself to place him gently on her silken pillow, right beside where her head would rest. He settled down, his eyes blinking slowly, looking perfectly content. Lily, however, felt a sudden chill, as if an icy draft had swept through her warm room, and she recoiled, pulling her hands away as quickly as she could, her discomfort now a burning anger within her chest. Princess Lily lay stiffly in her bed, her back turned to the frog, who lay calmly on her pillow, his gentle breathing the only sound in the quiet room. She tried to close her eyes, but sleep would not come. Her mind raced with angry thoughts. It wasn't fair. She had only wanted her golden ball back. Why should she have to endure this cold, clammy creature in her bed? He was just a frog, a silly, insignificant frog. Her anger simmered and brewed, growing hotter and hotter with each passing moment. The injustice of it all swelled within her, pushing away all her father's wise words about promises. She felt trapped, disgusted, and utterly furious. The soft glow of the moonlight through her window seemed to highlight the frog's still form, and his very presence felt like a torment, an unbearable intrusion on her personal space and peace, pushing her to the very edge of her patience and control, a storm brewing in her young heart. Suddenly, Princess Lily could bear it no longer. A wave of overwhelming frustration, hot and fierce, surged through her. All the suppressed anger, the disgust, and the feeling of being trapped by a silly promise burst forth like a raging flood. She sat bolt upright in bed, her eyes blazing. "You hateful frog!" she cried out, her voice trembling with fury. "You disgust me. I will not have you in my bed another moment." Before she could even think, before reason could catch up with her tempestuous emotions, she reached out, grabbed the cold, slimy frog from her silken pillow, and with all her might, she hurled him across the room. He flew through the air, a green blur against the moonlit wall, and landed with a surprisingly loud splat against the smooth, polished stone. A moment of shocked silence followed, broken only by her ragged breathing, as Princess Lily, with a mix of horror and strange relief, stared at the spot where the frog had landed, her heart hammering wildly in her chest, wondering what she had just done in her fit of passionate anger. But instead of finding a squashed, silent frog on the wall, Princess Lily saw something truly extraordinary. A soft, shimmering light began to glow from the spot where the frog had landed. The light grew brighter and brighter, swirling and dancing, filling the room with a gentle, golden warmth. Princess Lily watched, her jaw dropped in utter astonishment, her anger completely forgotten, replaced by a deep sense of wonder. The light pulsed, then slowly faded, revealing not a frog, but a tall, handsome young man standing where the light had been. He had kind eyes, a gentle smile, and was dressed in fine, regal clothes. He looked at her with a grateful expression. "Thank you, dear princess," he said, his voice deep and melodic. "You have broken the wicked enchantress's spell. She cursed me to remain a frog until a princess, in her frustration, threw me against a wall." Princess Lily could only stare, her mind reeling at this magical, unforeseen turn of events, her earlier disgust now overshadowed by absolute awe. Princess Lily, still breathless with shock and wonder, slowly climbed out of bed, her earlier anger completely dissolved into awe and a strange sense of guilt. The handsome prince bowed gracefully. "I am Prince Alaric," he introduced himself, his voice kind, "and I am forever grateful for your accidental help, even if it came with a bit of a toss." Lily's cheeks flushed, but this time with embarrassment rather than anger. "Oh, Prince Alaric," she stammered, "I am so, so sorry. I was so cross and unkind. I didn't know. I didn't know you were a prince under a spell." He smiled reassuringly. "You kept your promise, princess, even when it was difficult. That is what truly mattered, and in the end, it broke the curse." Her heart swelled with a new understanding. She had learned a valuable lesson about appearances, about patience, and about the deep meaning of a promise, realizing how profoundly wrong her judgment had been and how much she had grown in this extraordinary night. As the first rays of dawn painted the sky in soft hues of pink and gold, a magnificent carriage, drawn by 4 white horses adorned with golden harnesses, pulled up to the castle gates. Inside, a faithful old servant, whose name was Heinrich, sat with a worried expression. He had served Prince Alaric for many years, and his heart had been bound with 3 strong iron bands of grief ever since his beloved master had been turned into a frog. But as the prince, now restored to his true form, emerged from the castle with Princess Lily by his side, a look of overwhelming joy spread across Heinrich's face. With a joyful sound like a tiny explosion, the first iron band around his heart burst, then the second, and finally the third. He wept tears of happiness, his heart finally free of its sorrow, feeling a lightness he hadn't known in years, a profound relief washing over him at the sight of his master's return, a true testament to his unwavering loyalty and love. Princess Lily, now feeling a warmth in her heart she hadn't known before, said a tender goodbye to her father, who beamed with pride at his daughter's growth and her new friend. Holding Prince Alaric's hand, she stepped into the grand carriage, the soft cushions welcoming them. As Heinrich, his face still shining with joy, clicked the reins, the horses began their gentle trot, carrying them away towards Prince Alaric's kingdom. Princess Lily looked back at her own castle, feeling a sense of bittersweet farewell, but also an exciting anticipation for the journey ahead. She had started the day as a girl who broke promises and judged by appearances, but now she was a princess who understood the true value of kindness, patience, and the powerful magic of keeping one's word. The sun rose higher, casting long golden shadows, painting the world in hues of hope and new beginnings, and Lily knew, deep in her heart, that this adventure was only just beginning, a promise of a future as bright as her golden ball. And so, as the stars begin to twinkle outside your window, painting the night sky with tiny, shimmering diamonds, remember Princess Lily and her journey. She learned that even a small, seemingly insignificant creature can hold great magic, and that the kindest hearts are sometimes hidden beneath the most unexpected exteriors. The world is full of wonders, waiting to be discovered. And sometimes the greatest lessons are learned in the quietest moments, like the soft whisper of the wind through the leaves, or the gentle glow of the moon. Now, snuggle deep into your soft blankets. Let the soft hum of the night lull you into peaceful dreams. Imagine the sweet scent of night-blooming jasmine drifting through an open window, and feel the gentle warmth of your pillow beneath your head. Close your eyes, dear one, and drift away into a world of your own wonderful dreams. Good night, sleepyhead. Good night. And that is the end of our story. Thank you for listening to GoReadling Bedtime Stories. Visit GoReadling.com for more stories, reading adventures, and fun learning for kids. Sweet dreams, little one. Good night.